ekam aksharam hridhi nirantaram bhasati svayam likyate katham hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham maham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hrudi vishamanasa swam chinvata majjata avanachalanaro atmanishto bhavam deham mrinmayavat jadatmakam aham buddhirna tasyaspyato naham tattata bhava shukti samaye siddhatma sadbhava koham bhavayuta kuto varadhiya drishtatmanishtatmano soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam soham spurtitaya arunachala shivaha purno vibhati swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, it has been our practice to read two verses selected for us from Guruvachaka Kovai. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by a practice session of self-enquiry for 10 minutes. After these two segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and the practice of Atma Vicharam are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and today, after that, there will be the offering of Sri Ramanacentre chanted by Shri Vaibhav ji and Prarthnama, and we will all sit in Atma Vicharam, inquiring who is the listener, the puja team being away from town. We will do self-enquiry, then we begin the satsang by taking the first verse selected for us, verse number 2. Before we commence the satsang, I had asked a question of Ujjwalji that what happens when the who is the listener is done when we are listening to Ashtotram or listening to any sound. When we do, Ujjwalji gave the most perfect response possible. He became still and couldn't answer. That is the mark of good sadhaka, that immediately we try to actualize it and see who is the listener. And of course, he verbalized that by saying, I will practice it and let you know. But for that moment, he actually looked in and nothing came out. And Bhagavan is asked about that state by a lady from Chennai. When I ask who am I or who is the listener, nothing comes from within. As Ujjwalji was there right before us, the smile was still there picturesquely, but he had gone still. Nothing is coming from within. And Bhagavan says, even when nothing is there, no body, no world, no thought, no breath, are you still not there? Are you still not there? That is the Sayujya, at least for that moment, with the Atman, says Bhagavan, are you not there? When we are inquiring, who is the listener? Then the attention on the listening may be detached, but our own existence is attended to, which is ever present as Adhara. Thank you, Ujjwalji, for that wonderful response. The verse we have been given today to begin with is verse number 2. Verse number 2 is part of the prefatory verses. The three segments of this work are investigation into truth, meditation on the truth, and experience of the truth. This verse number 2 is about obeisance to the Guru. Obeisance to the Guru as part of the prefatory verses. Verse 2, even as I wallowed in misery, confounding myself with the form of the body, even as I wallowed in misery, confounding myself with the form of the body, he, Ramana, vanishing as not I, the dirty, insentient body, lovingly ruled over me as the Guru who bestowed knowledge of the indestructible reality. May the feet of the Mauna Guru, benevolent grace itself, rest on my head. Mauna means silence. Mauna Guru is Bhagavan, the Guru who taught through silence and bestowed the direct experience of that silence on Muruganar. Even as I wallowed in misery. Even when we come to the Advitiya Sthiti, it is not without knowledge of the other margas, the karma, bhakti, and yoga margas. Verily, at the apex of the hill, all the paths to the apex are clearly seen. And when we are identified with the body very deeply and identified as Nandakumar or so and so, the connections we make towards resolving our problems are so highly limited compared to the connections that the universal spirit, the Ramana, can make. So it is clear that it is only by grace of God, grace of Bhagavan, that one is brought to this sadhana, that I am not this body, and let me inquire who am I. That is brought about clearly not by the intellectual prowess of the jiva, not at all, it is impossible, but only by the grace of the Guru, the Mauna Guru. By his grace alone can we come upon this. Every thought bifurcates into so many other thoughts. Each of those thoughts, each of the breaths we take, is possibility of going away into many other directions. What is it that keeps the jiva in consistent sadhana, even when sadhana is given? It is only the Guru Kripa, which is already present as the self. Finally, we may use the Maunam or be in Maunam, understanding its significance. But that Maunam is Purna Jnana, that without Guru's grace, without that power of Arunachala, we cannot make our way out of this maze, which starts with I am the body idea. That is why he says, even as I wallowed in the misery, the more clearly we come to Bhagavan, the more clearly we understand how intricate was the maze in which we were stuck, and how benevolent the grace of Guru has been. I used to say I was wallowing in the mud, and Bhagavan caught me by the collar and pulled me up. That is the feeling one literally has. When I look back, if a friend had not got a thought to stop and look back 17 years back and see for a moment, if that moment had been missed, I can't see as a jiva what would have happened. When we come to the self, we understand that self-abidance indicates that turning point. That friend who had no reason to help us, he had no relationship except kindness. But now my duty is to see him as the Swarupa. When I see the Swarupa inside, I see Kumar Sir's real form. The reality of Kumar Sir is also that Swarupa. So in abiding in the Swarupa, I understand, I see the real form of kindness, real form of Kumar Sir, real form of the Guru. But it is not bereft of the understanding of that human help and the Shakti, the Ishvara Shakti, the Guru Kripa, which made him turn around. He could have looked at so many other directions. What is it that impelled him to turn and look this side and me to meet, then have a relationship of re-established where I was put through meditation again, and the whole journey continued for so many years. How can it be possible without Guru's grace, without the Arul Valai, which is holding the whole creation? Without that support, can this flimsy jiva, toiling with the misery of holding the body aside, could it have ever found its way out? Absolutely not. That is what Muruganar Swamigal is saying here. Even as I wallowed in misery, confounding myself with the form of the body, he, Ramana, banishing as not I, the dirty insentient body, lovingly ruled over me as the Guru, who bestowed knowledge of the indestructible reality. Till where does Bhagavan bring us? He is a relentless Guru. Outward, inward, he is completely in charge. He arranges the outside and the inside. And verily, the sadhana itself and consumes us in his love, in his unconditional love, in that Sannidhi. Bhagavan says, Ishvara's love is not a sankalpa, it is a Sannidhi. Like the Surya, and in his presence, how the entire world acts. The Panchakritya, the Srishti, Sthiti, Laya, Tirodhana, and Mukti don't happen through Sankalpa of Ishvara. He is merely shining as Satchit. Irundulir, I. Ramana is shining as that. And in that Sannidhi of self-attention, the entire creation of Triputis is happening. In that self-attention, there is no Triputi. The Triputi collapses. But when it is a Shakti, when it is Chit Shakti, it creates the Sannidhi, the impartial Sannidhi, in which the whole Srishti goes on. And it is that Sannidhi Mahima, that is Guru Krupa, that is Ramana. May the feet of the Mauna Guru, benevolent grace itself. Who is Bhagavan? He is benevolent grace itself. Let his feet, Tandidai Talirpurpadam, Tamiyanen Siratil Chudi, Nundida Valvadedi, Nodiadanin Bhavanoi Poka, Tandidai Talirpurpadam. Won't you give me that softest, gentlest of feet to keep on my head? And when a devotee sings like that, sitting at the Divan's feet, the devotee writes, somehow that day, Bhagavan's feet was actually touching my head when he was singing these lines. Tandidai talir porpadam tamiyanen siratil chudi nundida valvadedi. The misery-free life comes only when the Guru's feet are touching here and we are able to feel it as the I. That I is nothing but the ego merging into the Guru's feet and consuming it. And the Guru's feet alone is there. The I vanishing into that grace. That is the Guru's feet alone being there is the Mauna Sannidhi, is the Mauna Guru. And that is the Mauna Anubhava that Bhagavan gives. When that Mauna shines as I, it is the Chit Shakti, which is far more potent than any verbalization, says Bhagavan. And when that is held without any, without asking anything, even that Spurana quietens down into the reality of the self. Because the Spurana can have varying Shakti for varying layers of existence. But the silence, which is not even the Spurana, doesn't have those variations as in Shakti, and one is completely quiet. Till then, Bhagavan's Kripa, Atma Vichara, will not leave the sadhaka. Till the sadhaka loses his separate, miserable identity and merges with that Spurana and asks nothing of that Spurana, so that one is completely merged in that Shivam, in that silence. Till then, the Guru's Kripa, his feet, will never leave our head. Atma Vicharam will never leave us. And let us sit and practice Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes. Ujjwalji, you will be able to help us out. Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by taking the second verse selected for us, verse number 980. We find this in the third segment, experience of the truth, under the subheading, the greatness of beingness. The greatness of beingness. 980. Only your self nature has being. Distinct from this, everything else is only a bundle of concepts which are a deception. All those concepts that do not have true being eventually leave one. But this one self nature never leaves. The greatness of beingness. 980. Only your self nature has being. Distinct from this, everything else is only a bundle of concepts which are a deception. All those concepts that do not have true being eventually leave one. But this one self nature never lives. Now, the whole of existence, the philosophers and the spiritual people, they look at it from the perspective of being, knowing, and doing. And in fact, what we learn in the universities also is about the three: the doing, knowing, and being. But in the universities, mostly we learn about the relative being, how to improve ourselves from a non-PhD to a PhD. Our being changes relatively. The knowledge that we have changes. And therefore, what we do, that also hopefully it undergoes a positive, good change from the learning from the universities. So it is about this, the learning of and improving through these three categories called as being, knowing, and doing. In Vedanta, the doing and knowing, they merge in being. The being alone is real. Sat, Chit, Ananda. Ananda or bhakti or the love, we can say it from the perspective of the being as the doing part. But the doing and knowing, they merge in being. So what is all this? That the self alone gives the beingness. Bhagavan clarifies that in verse number 21 of Upadesha Saram. Vigrahendriya prana dhitamaha nahameka sat tach tat jadam hyasat. Hyasat. That is Vigraha, the body, which is involved in the doing in this world. Only when the body moves from one place to another, we say somebody is doing something. We don't realize that the doing can be internal also. But when somebody is moving, when somebody is bedridden at old age, we say, no, she's not doing much. Earlier, she was doing so many things. Now, she doesn't do much. Forgetting many other doings that she is capable of and doing still. Vigrahendriya, the pranadhitamaha, the vigraha, the body, and the world related with the body, the prana, and all the kriyas that we do with the prana, the indriyas, the mind, and the intellect, tamaha, the vasana-filled, ignorance-filled sleep, which is full of the vasanas and separates us from the truth. As a Anandamaya Kosha, all those things are Vigrahendriya, Pranadhitamaha, Nahamekasat. None of them can say I. Only some consciousness apart from it has to rise and say I. The body, the physical body, Vigraha, Indriya, the senses, the Jnanendriyas and the Karma, they don't say I. Something else from within rises and says Angammeri, Ahangarithidu, Anava Padubhavi. The Anava Padupavi, the relative I consciousness, it raises and identifies with the body, identifies with the senses. He says, I am the I am seeing. I am the ear, I am hearing, I am listening. So who is listening? Who is seeing? That we don't inquire. We identified with the doing. We identify with the doing, which the verse says is going to leave us. The doing and the knowing, when it is apart from being, they will all leave us. They are nothing but a bundle of concepts. The body is nothing but a bundle of concepts. The indriyas are nothing but a bundle of concepts. The prana is the same. The mind is nothing but a bundle of concepts. And the vasanas, what are they? They are bundle of concepts not perceivable to the within inverted comma conscious jiva. They are at a layer much subtler than the consciousness which the jiva has averaged out as his own consciousness. The vasanas are still sankalpas or all still thoughts in subtler form. And when we put the attention of dhyana or tapas there, they burn and come out in the form of thoughts, which we have to let go in sadhana. But Vigrahendriya, Pranadhitamaha, Nahamekasat. Do any of them say I or have the capacity of saying I and therefore can be said to have original consciousness? No, none of them say I. I slept. The Tama doesn't say I slept happily, I say. Therefore, the Tama of deep sleep doesn't have the ability to say I. The Dhi doesn't have the ability to say I think, I feel this is good. I feel, especially those who have mental difficulties, they prove that the I has much more power than any regularity in the mind. They can think completely differently from the average, showing that the mind doesn't have any order in itself or consciousness in itself. Consciousness is able to, even if the whole world comes and says one thing, these people will tell something else. And without deriding them, that is the ability which allows the jnanis to come out of samsara. The ability to think not like the multitude things, but in the way the rishis and munis are showing us. That is the ability of the consciousness to free itself. And that is the ability which is shown in that verse. That do they, any of them have consciousness? No. So they are jadam, tat jadam, but Bhagavan doesn't stop with, they don't exist, says Bhagavan. Now, when none of them can say I, they don't really exist. What really exists? The Ishvara Shakti, which is able to say I, the Irundulir, which gives the Sannidhi in which the whole Jada creation, it goes on. The karmas and all, they go on, which is what we saw in the previous verse. The Ishvara is merely shining. And that shining is called as Sat Chit. It is called as Sat Chit or Irundulir. Even that Irundulir is silenced in the pure being, in the pure Sat. உள்ளதுணர உணர்வு வேறின்மையில் உள்ளதுணர்வாகும் முந்தி பெற உணர்வே நாமாயுள முந்தி பெற உள்ளதுணர உணர்வு வேறின்மையில். To know the Sat, can the knowing be apart from the being? Absolutely not. If the knowing is apart from the being, then it does not exist at some time. And the being is not conscious. So therefore, knowing itself has to merge in the being. The happiness which we were searching should merge in the being. Being itself is happiness. Being itself is knowing. So the happiness which we can take as doing, experiencing happiness, and the chit with which we could experience them, both of them, the doing and knowing, they have to merge in the being. Because apart from the being, apart from eternal existence, can they exist? They will all leave us at one time. The quite nicely it is said, eventually they will leave us. The eventuality itself is part of time, which is going to leave us. Time and place is going to leave us. And the beauty of it is, we don't need any of the things that are going to leave us. That is why Bhagavan asks that lady, were you not existing when the thoughts were all left and the who am I was not giving any answer in the form of body, doing, breath, mind, not knowing, and even any other thought? Nothing was coming, but were you not there? That is the being. That is the being which is at the root of all the other things which could be dropped by her in who am I. When we do who am I, who is the listener? The very act of listening is now left with detachment. My existence is not dependent or affected on that. There is an unconditional listening, non-judgmental listening, which goes on automatically. One doesn't even say that that is there. It does not have real existence. What has real existence is the being or the beingness. Though this appears technical, in Atmavacharam, this becomes practical. What appears philosophical is not philosophical theory. When we do self-enquiry, we understand that that attention which was going behind Vigraha, the world, Indriya, Prana, Dhi, Tama, that attention is turned back and fixed in who is the listener or who am I. Then the Tripudi of knower, knowing, known, it collapses. The Tripudi collapses. The situation that there is a Jiva knowing a world in which he is struck, that Tripudi collapses and the self-luminous self, the Ishvara Sannidhi is felt, the Ishvara Spurana is felt. And Bhagavan says, don't ask anything of Ishvara, don't ask anything of the Spurana. Then Ishvara will reveal his Sat Swabhava. When the Sat Chitta, the Irundulir is held, Arunachala is held, and you don't ask anything of Arunachala, Arunachala will reveal to us the Mauna Sannidhi, the Maunam nature, where even the Spurana, like camphor, the light lit in a camphor, how that fire comes down, like that the Spurana also, when you don't ask anything of it, that Spurana also quietens down. And as Akka quite correctly said yesterday, it can be a holding without asking, as with the Bhakta, or can ask, who is feeling this Purana? Who am I who is feeling this Purana? Then the Arunachala Satsvabhava, the beingness, is shown as the one that cannot be alienated from us. We are that. Tat Tvam Asi. Thou art that beingness, nothing else. Whatever can be taken from you is not you. You are that beingness, and that is where Atmavacharam, you can't even say takes us. It allows that to rise and shine, as Atmavacharam merely removes the non-existent things, and along with them, like Pinanchudu Tadi, it also gets dissolved in the Sadvastu. So, with Bhagavan's immense grace, which is nothing other than beingness. The grace cannot be, we say Bhagavan, we say grace, all that, how can it be apart from beingness? And that beingness is verily us. Next 10 minutes, let us practice Atmavacharam. Ujjwalji, you can, again, we can trouble you. Thank you. request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana sir.
Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Dhyanamoolam Gurur Murtihi, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gurur Vakyam, Mokshamulam Guru Ramana. So there have two verses that we have been chosen. One is the beginning, one of the prefatory verses, and one is in experience of the truth. So it's first and the last, nearly last. The last is 1254, but 980 is practically the last. So let's try and understand, what did we do? Nandakumar said he's going to read those two verses. Then what we did, he gave us some meanings for that, and then he said, let us do self-enquiry. What do we mean by self-enquiry? Self-enquiry means we went into Mauna. Okay, we all went into Mauna, 20 minutes, 10 plus 10 minutes, we went into Mauna. Now, what are we trying to do? This body is trying to talk about, Venkatesh, please come out of Mauna. Don't be in Mauna now. Now, you please we will talk about everything apart from Mauna and try to get back to Mauna. This is the situation that I am in, that I have to speak about everything that is not Mauna and come back to Mauna. We were already in Mauna, 10 minutes and 10 minutes. So we actually don't have to go back. So we were already in the unmanifested form, but now we are coming into the manifested form. So now that's the funny situation that we are all in. But because of the satsang, we have to do that. Now, if you look at the types of silences, where we have, life as we've gone through various situations in our lives. We had a school silence. When your teacher comes in silence, class silence, everybody goes quiet, and then somebody looking at each other, they are, giggling and whatever it is, and then the teacher starts the class. The second one is silence. The exam is going on. Everybody is again silent. Somebody looks at the question paper very tough and looks at his friend, and they are talking with each sending gestures to each other, rooming the lips, lifting the eyebrows. Very tough examination. Okay, then the third thing is silence of Bhagwan's silence. So what happens in Bhagwan's silence? When Bhagwan was in the body, then when you go to, or even today in the Sannidhi of Bhagwan, will somebody come and tell you, hey Venkatesh, quietly sit down, sit quietly, don't talk in this Sannidhi, don't talk. And just sit quietly. Do self-enquiry. So in Bhagwan's Sannidhi, did anybody do that? No, because Bhagwan was in silence. He was at the base of the whole thing. So he doesn't say anything. So silence is actually the only reality. So the way where we were just now is the only reality. What was our experience at that point of time? That I am. So if you look at it, so you ask your child, are you being good? My mother asks her child, are you being good? She says, yes, daddy, mommy, I've been being good. What do you mean by being good? Oh, I've done my homework, I've eaten my food, I've put my books for next day. That's how I'm being good. That's how a child looks at being good. And somebody, for example, somebody asks you last week, do you remember what you did last week, last Monday? No, I don't remember what happened. My body, something happened, I did something, I don't remember. But the next question Bhagwan asks you, hey, were you there? Were you there at that point 1 week back? Yes, I was there. That I was there. With certainty I was there. There was no question in my mind that I was there. So what Bhagwan is trying to say is what did you do? We're going to see, what we are going to do is to break our silence and understand what is silence. So this is the challenge that we're going through right now. So important thing we need to do as devotees is understand the Mula Swarupa. Our Mula Swarupa is the Atma. If that is the Mula Swarupa, then Bhagwan, if we know that this bag of flesh and bones and the Atma are the two realities. One is Anitya, which is going to be there for some time, and the Atman is Nitya. So Bhagwan says, in between this comes the mind, which says, no, 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 no. This is like what has happened now. We were in the self, and we have come out now. We are trying to now prove that that the silence is actually the God. Silence is actually the Guru. So Bhagwan, whenever somebody came to his Sannidhi, he didn't open his mouth. He kept quiet. Did he speak when he was in silence? Yes. Did he do work in silence? Yes. All was going on. He was established in the silence and everything went on. Whatever he had to do, he did. So he cut the vegetables. He closed the gate. He did whatever it is. Somebody had a question, he would say. But important thing really was he was always established in the self. Now, what Bhagwan is trying to tell us in these two verses is that he's saying only your self nature has being. Everything else is a concept. Everything else is a projection of the mind. You're projecting your mind. You're projecting your body. You're projecting your intellect. Everything is just a projection. You are that Satchidananda Atman. If you understand that with total clarity and be established in it, then this Suttarivu, I always use Prasad always laughs at me when I use the word Suttarivu, but this Suttarivu of going around here and there, apart from the self, is not necessary. You can just be established in the self and be abiding in the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana, sir. That was so wonderful. What to say? May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to take us through the chanting? Namo Ramana,
Yes,
sir. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. Bharatvaja Vishwanatha Vidachitam Sri Ramana Stotara Shatanamavalihi Apada Satchit Sukhavari Rashe Yasyurvi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gadhiram Chinta Vihinam Hruvi Chintayami Om Mahasena Mahomshena Jataya Namaha Om Sri Ramanaya Namaha Om Gurave Namaha Om Akhanda Samvidakaraya Namaha Om Mahaujase Namaha Om Karanodbhavaya Namaha Om Jagadhitavatāraya Namaha Om Sri Bhuminathasthalostitaya Namaha Om Parasharakulottamsaya Namaha Om Sundararyatapahphalaya Namaha Om Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha Om Sahayamba Sahayavate Namaha Om Shonachala Manasaya Namaha Om Swarnahastakaya Namaha Om Srimadvadashanta Mahasthale Labda Vidyodayaya Namaha Om Mahashakti Nipatena Prabhuddhaya Namaha Om Paramartha Vide Namaha Om Tivraya Namaha Om Pitrupadanveshine Namaha Om Indumaurina Pitrumate Namaha Om Pituradeshatah Shornashailam Praptaya Namaha Om Tapomayaya Namaha Om Udasinaya Namaha Om Mahayogine Namaha Om Mahotsahaya Namaha Om Kushagradiye Namaha Om Shantasankalpa Samrambhaya Namaha Om Susandrashe Namaha Om Savitre Namaha Om Sthiraya Namaha Om Tapakshapita Sarvangaya Namaha Om Pullambuja Vilochanaya Namaha Om Chandrika Sitahasa Shri Manditanana Mandalaya Namaha ॐ चूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूडिकाखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातीताय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजितचलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्य निभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयाळवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलरिद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिवृन्देन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसाराधिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ ऋचान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ शोणादिशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहाय नमः। ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः। ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः। ॐ देवतमाय नमः। ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः। ॐ सेनान्ये नमः। ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामपूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं प्राप्यत देव्यानुग्रहसुप्रवाहविवशस्तादात्म्यभावं गतः हृन्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनासे कराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदम् लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय
Namo Ramana. Thank you, Vaibhavji and Pratnama. Thank you, Venkateshji. Thank you, Ujjwalji. Namo Ramana to all.
नमो
Namo
नमः
Ramana.
Namo Ramana everyone. Namo Ramana.